Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of the Tea Brief here on Rich T Racing, where we talk about my last weekend in Club 100 racing. And let's face it, you're here for the thumbnail, so let's not waste any time in getting into the meat of the subject. So last Saturday to be specific, I was at Whilton Mill for round 2 of the Club 100 Championship. I got into the SP60, finally making my return to the championship. I'm in for 2 rounds this year, at the moment at least, one being Whilton Mill, the other being Lyd later on in the year. That's where I got the new number from. I'll come on to that in a bit. It's important that I tell you about the SP60, that I was in it, because it feeds into the story. So obviously, being the SP60, I wanted to make sure I got everything on camera, as I would do. And I did. I got it all on camera, all filmed, really good footage. I'll be bringing it to you sometime next week. That is the plan, at the very least. So coming into the endurance, then this is where the story comes from. Between the SP60 and the endurance, there was the presentation and for the SP60, and then the briefing for the endurance, and then we were going straight in. And between that, I did not have time to get all my batteries on charge, nor did we have too much time to get the radios sorted. So there was a lot to do in quite a finite amount of time, and we were sort of late to get to the practice grid because Tom couldn't get his radio to it. He couldn't get the radios to sing. We got it eventually. Out Tom goes for practice. He can barely hear me. So I was like, oh god, this is gonna be brilliant. So I get my helmet on, I get myself sorted, put it all on, and then it's working fine. Radio's perfect. Everything is perfect. I qualified as P19. I've been on great form through the SP60, so I was gunning for qualifying. I was a little bit disappointed with P19, 14th in class or something. I was like, okay. It's not the end of the world, but it could have been a lot better. So, but we'll get on with it. Anyway, through that, I'd filmed all of practice and qualifying for me and Tom, because I think it's quite nice to see a comparison between the drivers, and also because Tom doesn't use a GoPro, he likes to see. He's started to like watching his stuff back. He's even toying with getting a GoPro himself. So basically, there were no batteries with enough charge, or as far as I could tell, there were no batteries with enough charge to be able to get my hour of racing on camera, because Jasper wasn't there, so we were doing an hour. So I was coming into the grid. I thought, right, I've got to rush off, make sure the GoPros have got charge in them, get back to the grid, make sure everything's okay. And the big mistake I made was taking my helmet off, taking all my gear off, because with the radios, I'll see if, I should have thought this through really. So this is my balaclava, my new balaclava, and as you can see, the radio stuff lives within it, because that's the only way that I can get the radios to work for me. So I would have to have put my balaclava back on, made sure it was sorted correctly, made sure it was comfortable in the helmet for an hour's worth of karting. And I did not do that. Taking the helmet off was the worst mistake I made, because I was then in such a run, I've been in such a kerfuffle trying to get this bloody GoPro onto the kart. I went to the car to go get the batteries, which was charging on my laptop. The damn thing was locked. Had to run back, get the keys, go in, look at the GoPro batteries, make sure they had enough life. They didn't. I was like, fucking hell, what's the point in that then? And then get back, get my helmet on, get the balaclava on, make sure everything was comfy, and make sure the radio worked. And by the time I got back to the grid, everyone was sat down, and I was sprinting, I was panicking. I got the GoPro on, I got the balaclava on, but half of it was covering my face like that, and I just about plugged the radio in, my gloves were off, the helmet wasn't undone, and then you hear, and off we go, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the stuff of a nightmare. So I'm there trying to get everything sorted, get my gloves on, get the helmet, get the radio plugged in. The GoPro, this is again halfway over my face. The earpiece was like bent over. It was so uncomfortable. I was like, well, there's nothing I can do. And then as we're coming through the formation, as we're coming through the first of the reverse Lesmos, I realise that the helmet's not done up. So eventually I just have to stop, take my gloves off, do the helmet up, and then literally I was like, oh my God, they're gonna go off without me, and that's fair enough. God bless JV, he let them do it. They did another lap so that I could catch up. But even then, I started in like 20. I was meant to start 19th, started 27th. Just about got the GoPro, and it filmed like it had 45% battery, so it filmed like 15 minutes. Absolutely shanked it at the start. Tried to go down the inside into the first of the left-handers, the reverse Lesmos I call them, and took out a good number of people. How I didn't get a penalty for it, I don't know. My racing through it, despite the fact I still had pace, was just awful. The whole thing was awful. The radio wasn't even working. I could not hear Tom, which is a massive shame because they were working so well in practice and quali. I could hear him I could even hear him down at Christmas, which was I thought was staggering. So it shows just how good these things are. So if you're thinking about getting a radio for endurance racing, get the what they call the Ageas V6. They're the best on the market by far. But yeah, it was just I felt so bad. I came into the pits eventually. We had to resort to the old way we did pits, which I give the special tap on the helmet to say I want to come in, and that's what we ended up doing. Fortunately, actually, Tom, fair play to him. Tom fought very well on his feet, and we resulted that we got help from Adam and his mum Carol to get me in for the first one, so that was good. But yeah, it was just absolutely awful, and so. The saving grace was that when I came out of my stint, handed over to Tom, I went to get the headset, and I just thought, I just wonder, and I pressed the call button, the way you connect them, and it beeped again, and all of a sudden I hear, and it's like, oh my God, it's what? And I was like, radio check Tom, and it's like, hello. So at the very least, we did get radio communication for Tom's stint, so that was good. And the good news is I've tried a new way of filming for the endurance. I basically strapped the GoPro onto my head so that you can hear what I'm saying through. Sorry if I was a bit low there. Basically, you'll be able to hear what I was saying to Tom. For it. So it'll be an interesting insight into the endurance racing, which I think will go down very well. But ultimately, we came home to finish in something like, I think 21st in the end. Kart 21 finished 21st. Brilio just got us at the end. Adam Adam Pugh, our friends for Slow Coach Racing, his dad got punted off at Ashby onto the grass, had to push it back on, and the pace Adam had to recover and the strategy they implemented was perfection, because they finished in front of us. It was quite amazing, really. So that was fantastic for them. They finished, I think they finished 18th in the end. But yeah, we were 21st, about like 13th in class. So yeah, it was entirely my fault. I will say, not as bad as Elo, where I, by mucking around with the GoPro, I cost us a victory. But still very bad, and I apologise to Tom profusely. He was fine with it. God bless him again. He was absolutely fine with it. And yeah, apologise to Jasper, apologise to Club 100 and the whole grid, whole endurance grid for screwing it all up at the start. So yeah, my sincere apologies for that. I will make sure it never happens again. The reason I'm able to move on with it is because it's very obvious what happened, why we didn't do well, because we would have been near the top 10. I don't think we would have won. We definitely wouldn't have won, and we definitely wouldn't have got on the podium at this one. So we just have to move on from that and hope for a better result at GYG when Jasper will be back and life will be good. So on to the SP60 then. Let's end on a positive, because the SP60 was bloody brilliant. It was great to be back again with a new number. Although I say a new number, it's number 51, and if you follow me on Facebook, you'll know that number 51 was my first number. It was my first number in Club 100 racing, and for this year, going into it, I'd asked, can I be number 51 as the reigning SHW champion? Obviously, I then didn't get in to it to defend my title. The champion not in the championship to defend his title. Been there, yeah. Started getting slightly more bitter about it, but there we go, whatever. Yeah, what was I going to say? What was I saying? Yeah, so 51 back. Really happy with that. Really happy that this will be with me for the rest of the year, because I am reserve list for all of them, so I'll be hanging on to that thing until the end of the season. So hopefully I'll get in a few more. So I was really happy with that. And then my qualifying, ladies and gentlemen, qualifying was really odd, I think, because my best lap was my first lap. It was a 54.9, and I put myself P7 on the grid. The nearest SHW challengers were Lee Henderson in 13th, and the big one, Mr. Alex Pritchard, in 15th. So I knew at the start, I was like, okay, there's a bit of a buffer between me and Pritchard, who is like, he is the outright championship favourite, incredibly talented driver, very fast, very determined, and very difficult to get past once he's past you, or if you're behind him. So yeah, I was like, okay, I've got a bit of a buffer. Let's see what we can do at the start. I'd rather be on the right-hand side of the grid than the left, but there we go. Turned out Tim Williams in 4th got a dog of a start, and by the second corner, I was 5th. And I stayed there for a few laps. I then got overtaken by Karolis. Sorry if I got the name wrong, but I know it's a Turkish name or a name from that region. I apologise if I've got it horrendously wrong. So I thought, okay, that's an SHW, that's a HW past me. It's fine. Let's just keep plugging away. And actually, once he got past me, my pace picked up, and I got back past him, back into 5th. And the next person to get past me was, of course, Alex Pritchard. So I thought, oh well, that's it. Let's just try and keep up with him. Oh boy, did we keep up with him. We ended up having a really good ding-dong in this race. And ultimately, I did beat him to 5th place, my best result in the SP60, minus 1 position. Because guess what? At Whilton Mill, I got a cone penalty. This one was bollocks. I'm just going to say it now. 3 of us, me, Alex, and Karolis, sorry, I forgot the name wrong, going into the first of the reverse Lesmos, and it's 3 of us going through the corner, they're all there, trying to keep it all good, and ultimately I just nicked the tyres on the exit, and that was judged to be a penalty. Bollocks, I say, but there we go. Not going to be too bitter. Not like Bayford, where I got given a 4th place forcing driver wide penalty right at the start. Sorry, got lost in the moment there. So ultimately P6. Pritchard, Alex, I should say, came home 5th, so it was 5th and 6th. When I looked at it going into second race 2, I was like, there's a scenario here where I can lose this victory to fastest lap, because he'd set like a 54.5 in race 1. And I thought, I don't think I'm going to get that time. So if I finish 5th and he's 6th, I'm going to lose the victory to fast lap, and it'll be Whilton Mill again. I really love not to have a 4th, 2nd place. Let's try and win this thing. And it could have been, but we did end up with our 4th, 2nd place. The other one of them is up there, and the other 2 are in there. So yeah, that's that. How it ended up. Basically, at one point we were 4th and 5th because Alex had gone very aggressively defensive on Ryan Sandor on lap 1. I'd been able to get past Ryan on the very next lap. I'd been able to tell that Alex's kart was a bit slower than the previous one, so I thought, I might be in here. But on the next lap, Ryan got me in the same place into the final corner, and it wasn't the best move. Or rather, it was messy, the whole thing. It was Lionel, the whole thing, and that allowed 4 heavyweights to come past me. So there was a big gap between me and Alex. The gap closed. It was George Watson in between me and Alex. I was following him for so long, thinking, overtake him, but he couldn't. And then I tried to do to him what Alex had done to Karolis in the first race. Tried to go around the outside at Christmas. Didn't work. Had to go over the grass. Lost more positions. Gained them back. But lost the position on the final lap to Tim Williams. And Alex and George were too far away anyway. Even if they had come to blows, I doubt there would have been much I could have done. So yeah, I finished P2 again, but I'm really happy with what happened in the SP60. It was a fantastic return to form, a fantastic return to that championship. Hopefully I do get into a few more rounds this year, because it is a lot of fun, and I definitely will keep the GoPro in mind going forward when it comes to this sort of thing. But ladies and gentlemen, there we go. That is the story of how I ruined a karting race. That is the second edition of the Tea Brief for this year, done and dusted. The next one will be after the BUKC finals weekend, which is happening next weekend. So I'll be really looking forward to that weekend in its entirety. I'm commentating on the Friday on mains, hopefully racing on the Saturday in the Inters, and definitely racing on the Sunday in the Drivers' Champs, sporting once again number 51. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, the continued rambles of this old fool and his cup of tea. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications so that you know when a new edition of Rich T Racing comes out. Thank you very much for watching, and all I shall say for now is ta-ta and farewell.